So we've got Anna, who is a photographic-based artist, photographic artist based in London. We have Toby, who is a visual artist from Liverpool. Thanks for sharing the link to your work, Toby. I'm Suzizo. I'm a curator from Nottingham. And if you have any questions, do feel free to already put them in the chat because we can ask them a little bit later. Any questions that were asked in advance in the registration may be answered through the presentations. If not, you'll also have the opportunity to ask those questions at the end of the event. We have Kay, who is a writer based in Lagos, and Mate, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who is practicing photography, and they're attending from Ipswich in the UK. And we have Ebenezer, who is joining from Lagos. And I just wanted to ask a quick question to participants. Do feel free to place the mic on. Whilst coming into the Zoom, did it request a passcode, or were you able to enter the event straight away? Okay. Thank you for sharing your link, Anna. So we're just going to give it a few minutes, well, about a couple of minutes or so, just to wait for more people to come in. But do feel free during this time, if you want to just stretch your arms and legs or grab a drink, do feel free to do so. And we'll commence probably just after 2:10. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much. We're going to get the event started now. So a very warm welcome to all of you who are attending the event on Zoom, and a big welcome to those who are streaming the event on YouTube as well. My name is Sazizo, and I am one of the co-organisers for the drill. And Innocent is going to just do a very quick introduction, and then we'll get into the event.
Hi, hello everyone. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. We appreciate your time. We appreciate the effort. So my name is Innocent, the co-organizer of this, and found out the drill. It's strange to say, but so I'd like to introduce you to the drill, and not to myself, because there's nothing to introduce you to about myself. The drill is conceived as a way of ensuring that early career and mid-career arts practitioners are well equipped in pursuing their goals, in pursuing their vision, and in pursuing their practice. It is a tool, it's a vehicle rather, to ensure that people have the necessary knowledge and the necessary resources they need in order to have a sustainable career and a sustainable future. So because of that, the drill works mostly in programming that has to do with education. The drill is still very young, just like a year old. Our first event was less than a year ago. I believe it was the first week of July 2020. And it was an event that was focused on giving people a little bit of an idea of what the drill is about, because we had speakers from law, from mental health, from physical health, and from arts management and networking also there. But then going forward, the drill is also going to be focusing more on these things. And the goal is not just to present events that is going to be all talk and nothing else, but rather to present events that would enable people gain the necessary skills that they need, and also prepare people for what lies ahead. And when I mean prepare, I mean like get them in touch with the right persons that they need to be, help them create an avenue for them to be able to find the necessary resources they need, be it people, be it opportunities and what have you. And because the drill is still young, we're bootstrapping our way through most things. And we hope that by the end of the year, we'll have much more robust packaging for you in every regard. So please, thank you for joining us for our second event. Stick with us, because the goal is to ensure that at the end of the day, all of us can successfully do what we're trying to do within the art space, because, well, ideas are not lacking, right? It's the ability to execute that keeps most of us down. And for some of us who have the opportunity to know people like Louise and Jahman, well, we could bring them to you in order to tell you one or two things about how to get one or two things done. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. And Sally, over to you.
Thank you very much, Innocent. And so we're not going to take too long before we get onto the talks. Most of you will have received the email with the document just outlining some housekeeping for today. So we've requested that you can remain muted unless you are asking a question, just so that there isn't any interference with background noise. But we're also aware that, we're all in locations that have different bandwidths. Some people may have a lower bandwidth than others. And so if possible, do keep your cameras off during the presentations, just so that we can all get the opportunity to view the presentations in all their glory. When it does come down to asking questions, you can place your camera on along with your mic. And you'll also be able to have your camera on during the breakout sessions for those who are part of the breakout rooms. And so with this event today, the talks and presentations will run between now and 3:30, and that's including the Q&A. So we'll first start off with Louise, then there'll be a short comfort break, which will just give you the opportunity to stretch your legs, go to the toilet, grab a drink, just to spend some time away from the screen to avoid screen fatigue. And then we'll reconvene at 2:40, and we'll have Jahman speaking. And then that will be followed by Q&A, where you'll have the opportunity to ask Louise and Jahman questions as well. So without further ado, we'll get on to the talks. And the first keynote is by Louise Fedotov-Clements, who is the Artistic Director of Quad in Derby. She's also the Director of Format International Photography Festival. So it's an absolute honour to have Louise with us today, and she's going to be speaking to us about networking. So we're really looking forward to that, Louise. And so without further ado, do begin.
Thank you. Thanks, Aziza, and thank you, Innocent. Thanks to everyone joining, and Jahman as well, everyone here today. Yeah, it's a real privilege to talk about what I do, and so I'm just going to kind of give a brief overview really swiftly. I'll try and keep within 20 minutes. I'm going to put my timer on to keep check on that. There we go. If you hear a duck, that's the end of my my go. And yeah, networking is such a fascinating subject. It's something, it's kind of like the dark art of our work, really. But when you start focusing on it, there's so much to talk about and say and understand and nuance and I suppose advice that we can share. So that's kind of what I've been trying to distill in this. But anyway, I get stuck in by showing you, this is, well, here we go. Why is it not going across? Okay, that's Quad. And it's the Centre for Contemporary Art and Film. I've been working there since 2001. Before that, I did a fine art degree, and I did an MA in curating, graduated in 98. Zoom is very forgiving, you know, still looking a bit chipper. But it's a Centre for Contemporary Art and Film, and we opened in 2008. We're right in the centre of Derby, which is in the middle of England. And it's the furthest from the sea from any distance, if you look on the map. And we've got cinemas and gallery spaces. We have all kinds of different exhibitions. We've got a changing exhibitions program there. We have a staff of about 60 people, and we have about over 400,000 people come to visit us each year when we don't have a pandemic happening. Currently we're closed, and we're reopening from the 17th of May. So if anyone's in the UK and wants to pop over, do come along. We're opening with 11 exhibitions from Format, so do check that out. And we have a mixed range, really broad international programme, care very much about intercultural dialogue and ideas. We're NPO, which is an Arts Council funded organisation. We're publicly funded, we're a charity, we're a non-profit. We're about art and ideas and making art accessible to as many people as possible by looking at it, making it, and doing it, and sustaining careers within it as well. But not only art, art is a big enough term to include everything from performance to music to creative thinking to writing, all kinds of creative energies within your life, whether you call yourself an artist or not. Anyway, so there's some windows on. We don't have all these galleries. These are separate exhibitions in the same gallery. Exhibitions focused on failure, for example. Failure is a very fascinating subject within people. So that's another topic for the Jewel maybe in the future, failure, looking at how you convert failure into positive action and handle failure throughout your careers as a creative or as a human being, in fact. But yeah, a range of exhibitions. We have our lovely cinema spaces where we present world and independent film. We support filmmakers to make work as well, and young people and all kinds of everyone from all ages to access animation and filmmaking skills and so on. We also organise a film festival, which is available online this year, as are many things. We organise a big street arts festival that's coming back later this year with this kind of like giant stage that was hanging from a crane with aerial performers and projected photographs. That was a wonderful performance that we had one of the years called As the World Tipped. Yeah, environmental change and degradation, sadly, as is the state of both currently. We also organise a touring outdoor cinema programme and outdoor exhibitions. We have artist residencies and we pioneer in kind of contemporary and digital new media to support artists to know how to use them. So VR, AR, AI and all these abbreviations for people to get their teeth into the tools, and also kind of think about what it means to society, but also how people can actually use them for their own creative ideas and so on. This is a recent exhibition that we had by Mima Akin and Mimi Onoaha, looking at AI and deep fake systems, but also looking at data discrimination and the Black body globally as well. Very important subject. And of course, we have a huge amount of education and participation programs and support people of all abilities and interests to access our work. Because we're a non-profit and we were set up originally as a community arts focused organisation, so we care very much about enabling people to access our programs and also be the programs within it ourselves as well. It's not just for them, it's with them and with them involved. And we also do lots of fun collaboration projects. This is with 9 artists that we presented at Venice Biennale one year, where we produced a crazy golf art course, and John Akonfra and Yinka Shonibare, Carlo Hiri, and Doug Fishbone led the way. That was collaboration with New Art Exchange and Beacon Projects and 1 Thorsby Street as well. So very varied program. This is one of our pioneering programs in terms of mass participation, where we invited 250,000 people, the entire population of Derby, to participate in making a film. We eventually ended up practically working with 15,000 people to produce 3 films, one that was also with Madrid and Berlin. And that went on to tour over 200 venues, including MoMA in New York and other major venues around the world. But we cared very much about it because it's a community-led, community-produced, really excellent quality. Contemporary art films were produced out of this. We converted the gallery space into a cinema, into a film set as well, and a place to watch the films and so on. And people who were doing the hair to the makeup to, taxi drivers on the street. We worked with all walks of life within the city to feed into the storyline and make the set and be part of the production team as well. And young people in this project have gone on to careers in Foley, the sound effects in film and art direction and other things as well. So really amazing legacy of this project as well. Tons of things that we do. So in 2004, I set up Format Festival, and it's been going from strength to strength, fortunately, but a lot to do with networks, really, essentially. So I'll just give you a quick overview of that and get into the meat of the network part. Photography, we all know, is a very incredible and important, overwhelming medium in the world today. And so the headquarters of Format is Quad. So I'm artistic director of Quad, and I'm the director of Format, 2 jobs in one, no small feat to achieve. This is a window on Derby and also New Art Exchange in the bottom left corner there. These are the kind of physical buildings that we normally present our work in. But this year, because of the pandemic, we've the theme is control, and the edition launched on the 11th of March in this incredible online space. We've built a new world online with New Art City, 20 galleries, multiplayer, multi-user. So you see all those lozenges, the green and red shapes, they are of real people and digitally, and you can see them walking around in real time and you can communicate with them in real time. So this is still live for another 2 years, so you can go and visit it here, Format.New Art City. And I'll share the link in the chat later on when I get my hands free. And it's an amazing space. Where else can you show your work on a banyan tree with a major projection behind and have people visit from all over the world? Just over the opening weekend, we had 2,000 people from 60 countries within 2 hours visiting this space live together. Really amazing platform, and do check it out. Also, Mass Isolation Format, which had over 4,000 images from 90 countries, and we've produced 180 gigapixel platform online that you can search. You can check that out through our website, so do check out formatfestival.com details. And also that's Quad again, so we've wrapped Quad in the images from Mass Isolation Format. But networking, here we are. Obviously, it is the actional process of interacting with others to exchange information and develop professional or social contacts. How do we do it? I'm sure most of us here, it's all very logical when we hear it, but I just wanted to kind of go over a few things just so that something new or something might kind of seed in your mind when you're next doing at a networking event or organizing one yourselves as well. So it's quite interesting. You never really know without listening to other people you can't really know how much you know without kind of engaging with others, really. I think that's quite a fascinating thing. So when you are networking and you talk to other people and you realize kind of the depth of their knowledge in relation to yours, you might think you're kind of all-knowing or whatever, but you're kind of encountering someone else that can really open up doors within your mind and make you think about things in a different way. It's really important to expose yourself to variety and different voices, and even just to reconfirm that you think you know what you think as well. It can kind of be a reaffirmation as well. And also your success in a career is largely attributed to the pool of information or ideas that you've gathered over the past. But when networks have been created, it fosters a trade of ideas, that helps sustain long-term relationships and mutual trust. And when you're receiving ideas, it helps both in your place of work and outside of your work, in addition to instilling best practices that can soothe your career. It also improves your creative intellect. So aspirations and great innovations are most times formed as a result of external factors around where we find ourselves. So in some ways, the world is homogenizing globally, but certainly it can be very polarizing and very insular as well. So networking really helps break you out of old habits and kind of old ways of thinking as well. So the intellectual ability in different careers is significantly improved upon contact with other people. It's a well-proven fact. And we certainly simple interaction with one person can transform a year-long body of research and result in a breakthrough. It can also give you moral support, confidence boost, can provide you with a mentor as well if you see that same person several times, and build on your conversations. And like-minded people that have been able to share ideas, to strongly develop their intellect, to foster creative growth, therefore unleashing the creative talent within them. Sounds grand, but it's true. And I frequently see people being enlightened, and it's really incredible to witness. An example of that, the online space that I shared here, that was a result of a networking event that I was part of last year. We've been awarded a grant, and we decided to take format online, but we had no idea what platform to use, with Mozilla Hubs or to invent something ourselves. And we were going down the route of inventing something ourselves. And I was speaking at a conference last year, and there was a kind of a lounge after the event. And it's the kind of thing that sometimes I don't go to because I'm tired and I've done the talk, and I want to just kind of get back to my own life and so on. You get kind of fatigued for being online too long. But I thought I'd just go along and just see who's there. And I'm glad I did. I met a gallery owner in Los Angeles, and I was telling her about what I was doing and what we were planning to do, excited that we're going to do this online space, and telling her all about it. And she basically ripped it to shreds. It was so brilliant. And she recommended New Art City. And that's so it started the conversations with those guys. They're doing the idea that we had, but a million times better. They'd already started it. There's no need for us to reinvent the wheel and try to pioneer something that has already been done better somewhere else. So we ended up collaborating with New Art City as a result of that, that chance meeting in the lounge after a conference online, doing some networking with strangers. Really fantastic outcome for that, really. But it's just also an advice to make the effort and turn up and engage, and just talk to people about what you're doing, and you never know what might come out of it as well. Really important, really obvious, but very important. And also people want to see that you're committed and passionate about your profession. So not that everything is an interview, but when I see people at networking events and I get to know them, I get to see them maybe more than one or two times, I can see how they are, how they work and how they're being, how they interact with each other, how they're kind to others, how they, talk about what they do, and if they're consistent in their intention to continue with their work. And as in life and love, of course, it's always better to have people attracted to you for your own merits. So be strategic as to where you want to spend your time and money, and don't let FOMO, fear of missing out, get you down. There's so many networking events going on simultaneously. Choose the ones that you want to go to. Don't feel like you're missing out when you're not there, and make the most of the ones that you do go to. And of course, sharing, creating situations for others to network within can also boost your own network. So you can be the instigator of your own destiny. Take charge when you can. So this is why I think I've covered most of these. Yeah, find partners, collaborators, transform your thinking, enable intercultural dialogue is extremely important. Establish yourself within a generation or ecosystem that grows with you as well. And I think when you're first starting out, participating in networking events and getting to know people that are also at early stages of their careers can be really beneficial. And you can kind of chart and follow and support and be celebratory of each other's progress throughout your careers. And by the time you become 40, 50 and look back through your careers, hopefully you've got to some stage that you're happy with, or in transition, wherever you are, you've got a kind of you've had a lifespan with a group of people that you've kind of gone through your creative progress with, and it should be fun as well. The more fun you have, the more relaxed you'll be and the more creative you can think, and in theory, so try to enjoy it too. It shouldn't be stressful. How? There's many ways how. Direct face-to-face networking events when the world opens up, when we heal after this virus, of course. But before there were so many opportunities to meet people at launches, at events, at exhibition openings, at conferences, at biennials, etc., etc. But important things are listening, making connections, or giving yourself a target to make connections and go up to random people and say, hi, how are you? If the context is correct, obviously, if they're deep in conversation, then don't interrupt them. But if the networking situation is there, do take the leap and have courage and confidence to go up to people and also follow up, try to get their contact details and say, thanks, nice to meet you, and here's my link, and stay in touch if relevant. Produce your own events, as I mentioned before, where you can involve the people that you want to meet as well. Symbiology, building your own ecosystem, that's also really important, but think about mutualism in that respect rather than parasitism. Look at ways that you can share and support and engage rather than seeing what you can get from other people, and show up. Be there. If you're not there, you're not there, isn't it? So you have to be there for the opportunities and be there as frequently as you can afford and manage within your time and capacity. And don't make excuses. Don't spend time complaining or making excuses for anything. Just focus on positive and look ahead. And know your power, know your knowledge, whatever stage of ability you are, be confident with that and acknowledge where you want to grow as well. Don't eat all the food, that's coming up next. Some of the do's and don'ts. What to do prepare. Don't focus on yourself too much. Networking is about relationships, and relationships are not I-centered, they're about we. And if you find yourself talking a lot about yourself, telling too many stories about everything under the sun, slow down and try and listen more than you talk. Ask questions and listen to the responses. It's obvious, really, isn't it? But when people get excited, they sometimes forget to do that. And attempt to ask one more question after hearing the response, and find out one more interesting thing about the person that you're talking to, and really genuinely open up yourself to other people in an emotional way. Like sometimes you go to networking events and all the the professionals are really trying hard to show off their professionalisms, and you kind of see somebody's friend or husband or wife or whatever partner, and they're just having a brilliant chat with one of the main the main star of the event, just because they're disarmed. Like you don't have to just talk about yourself and your work. You can talk about other stuff and share about the situation that you're both in, or kind of think of another way to be more human. You don't have to just be about work and this is my work and look at my work and that kind of thing. It kind of can be a bit, can put people off, especially kind of more high profile people who really don't need that many new contacts unless they're looking for new work. They kind of want a fun human engagement rather than a work exchange, because they've got enough work to do, enough contacts and so on. So try to be human first and talk about your work within that context. And also, the more you listen, the more people will kind of, I think, know you to be a wonderful, thoughtful, insightful person. And also just be very conscious of like I said, be human and try to disarm the status situation. Of course, there are hierarchies within business and the arts, and people's roles can be very admirable and so on, but being kind and considerate and respectful is the ultimate and most important thing to do, whatever stage people are at. And as someone said to me, you have to be careful how you treat people on your way up, because you never know who you'll meet or need on your way back down. absolutely fundamentally important. Be nice and kind to everybody, whatever stage of knowledge and development they're at. And also bring cards, bring pen and paper, charge your phone, notepad. Often high profile people don't have cards, so if they do give you your details, you have to be ready to catch them, and you can't retain them in your memory. And also do remember that it's good to have a tag team. You can bring a wing person with you as well. Sometimes it's nice to bring a friend, and you can kind of do tag team and target people. You can kind of scope the room out. Someone can be Googling someone whilst you're going over to talk to them, and you can kind of really turn it into you can have some fun and talk to really a lot of different people. And of course there's going to be situations where people are rude to you and turn their back on you and are condescending or don't have time to talk or whatever, and that can be not fun, not nice to receive. But on the flip side, you'll end up talking to some incredible people that will stay with you for the rest of your life and really kind of give great return on opportunities as well. Don't care too much about your appearance as well. And the appearance of others, unless you're at a fashion event, I suppose that would be all right. And because networking is about building relationships. If you're swept away by what's on the surface or the show of the event, you're not going to be able to dig deep and really have meaningful questions and conversations with people. Oh my gosh, that went so fast. And failing to follow up. People often fail to follow up. It's always shocking to see, if I meet somebody who's got a real potential and real opportunity and I link them up with somebody and they just don't respond, you just kind of fail at the first hurdle at that point. So if somebody's recommending that you follow through on something, do it. You don't know where it might take you. And always be thoughtful and never look like you don't want to be there, and never look over people's heads whilst you're talking to them, and don't eat all the food despite it being pretty tasty appetizers normally and great drinks being available at a lot of events. It's messy, it's stinky, it's often noisy. You're trying to have a chat with somebody and you have to get quite close when you're in a noisy networking event. You don't want someone with their whatever they've just munched on coming towards you. And also when you're shaking hands, quite often you don't want that to be and also if you need to exchange cards and you have to get it out your bag, you've got a drink and a canapé or whatever in your hand, you're just not going to be able to do it. So just I also recommend, of course, going up to the queue. You can always meet people when you're queuing for the wine, but just get something so that you can consume it fairly swiftly and so on. Don't have your hands full of stuff and don't eat it all up. It's not supposed to be a dinner. I'm sure no one does that, do you? Does anybody? Unless you're really hungry. I'm just going to really quickly, is that right, Saziza and Instant? I'm just going to really take the time, just really swiftly, just to show you a few things. Very interesting. Thanks. A lot of way people read each other is through body language. Apparently this percentage, 55%, is really a high percentage. Think about that. Spoken word, even much less. Think about your handshake. Don't do the old aunt. Don't do the Barbie hand. Don't do the standoff or the weird uncle, whatever that is. Also think about cultural difference and be sensitive to ways people that want to, if people don't want to hug and kiss, don't hug and kiss. Obviously don't do that now because of the pandemic, but people don't want to do handshakes, just be courteous and thoughtful. Think about your arms, think about your body language generally speaking, think about how your hands are, how you're standing, and your gaze as well. Also think about social space. There was I organise network events quite often, and there was one gentleman that was that always got in too close to everybody, and he used to put his leg up on something when he was talking to them. We've never invited him back. So think about personal space. Don't invade the personal space. Unless somebody's leaning in to hear, then you can do it and then step back again. I don't know what event you have tankards at for networking. Those guys are on the right there, having a nice time. But yeah, the social space, the public space, the intimate space, think about, don't invade the intimate and personal space. And also open formation gesture. This is something that I'm actually really conscious of when I'm at networking events. I care very much about trying to include as many people as possible, and something I mentioned earlier about when you're having conversation with somebody, don't if often your greatest buddy that you haven't seen for years comes over and you want to really want to talk to them, but you're already chatting to somebody that you haven't met before. It's kind of maybe somebody's asking you questions and you know, just trying to help them out and be friendly and so on, but your greatest colleague is over there and you really want to talk to them. What I always try to do is, of course, be excited about my greatest colleague coming over, but I don't ignore the person that I'm speaking to already. And I come back with eye contact. We open up the space of the circle or the group or the triangle, like it says here, kind of widen it out so that that person doesn't feel blocked out and removed from the conversation. And I introduce them all to each other so that they can meet. And then we continue with our conversation and try to wrap in the subject. So don't be ignorant, basically. It's a basic rule of life, I guess, generally speaking. And but this is a networking event app format where the open gesture formation is actually in full flow. We see our three colleagues from Singapore in the middle here are in that open formation. You could feel like you could go up to them. There's space for you to connect, and the eye contact within the three would work. It would be friendly enough open group for you to participate in. So it's really important to think about that if you want to be engaging and supportive with a networking situation. And nearly at the end, just think about more holistic systems of networking. It doesn't have to be a formal work situation. Think about your career and life as an ecosystem, generally speaking. Look after it. Be active, aware, share with and beyond your community. Work on your stamina and resilience, confidence, and you know, ignoring people when they're rude is something that you need to handle in networking situation. And just remember, people have got different you know, a situation. Don't bear grudges, never bear grudges. You know, there's quite often situations where somebody will completely blank you, not look at you in your eye when you're trying to ask them a question, or they'll just won't give you the time of day. But then on another day, they'll be the most wonderful person in the world and give you an opportunity. So don't bear grudges against anybody. Just be open and open-hearted and generous with your spirit, and try to be, you know, try to participate in a kindly, happy way. Obviously, don't take abuse. Of course, don't take that at whatsoever. But if people can be feeling different things on different days, so be kind to them as well. And also think about the phases that people can be in as well. So I'll just skip over this, but I can come back to this or share this later. But it's very interesting in terms of the career trajectory path and where people might be at stages in their networking along this path, and how you can kind of understand where the way people will respond to each other according to what stage of career development they're in as well. And then maybe I'll talk about this in the breakout. I was going to talk about how I ended up at Leishray, so it's my networking path, but I'll just skip over that. And portfolio reviews, of course, very important networking situations. But I was just flagging this up also because of virtual networking and the ways to engage virtually. I'll be quite quick, nearly finished. So we held one of the biggest networking events. There's 800 meetings across 2 days on Zoom and Picture, so people sharing their portfolios on one platform and engaging and having one-to-one meetings. But I think generally speaking, networking online, you can do a lot before you start. You can Google the participants, you can see who you want to talk to, make a beeline for them, participate in the breakout sessions, always ask questions, one or two at least. Even if you can't think of one, just make one up. Just do it, and you'll be visible. Sometimes these events can have up to like 4,000 or more viewers, and if you ask a good question, then your visibility is just going to shoot up, and people see your name, and you share your link in the chat. It's a really strategic, you know, positive networking situation. It can be very, very good. And also share your presence in advance and during the event. And write your opinions about it. Try to be positive or critical as well, positively critical. But also, there's another thing I was going to say about the physical events. Obviously, share your presence there, but don't try and take selfies with everybody. That can be annoying. And then networking is a slow burn, and it takes really sometimes a long time, 20, 30 years or more sometimes, before a contact comes into play. But it takes a while to build up within a group. It might not immediately get business, but certainly you have to do it in order to do it. And then I was going to say about the dance, really, it's about free flowing in life. It's about being curious and learning. It's about being conscious and alert. It's about remembering names. Oh my God, such a big challenge. Write them down, or try to Google them whilst you're there, or just apologise and be honest. Remind me your name. I'm bad at names, etc. But the more events you do, the harder it becomes to remember everybody's names. But that is, a crucial thing. It's about improvisation and collaboration, and it's about dancing. There's so many, so many good friends I've made through coming to the dance at the end of the events, and we always organise a great one at Format as well. So do come to that in the future when we can travel again, and visit Format online. I'll share the link in a minute. Do ask questions when you have a chance in a minute, and thank you very much. There we go. I've stopped sharing. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much, Louise. That was really informative. There's definitely a lot of things that I learned from there. Maybe a few things that I've been doing wrong when networking. I know that Anna mentioned guilty. I think that was in reference to maybe eating too much during the networking events, and I've been guilty of that as well. Maybe going to a networking event on an empty stomach and then treating it as my dinner.
Totally, me too.
But there's some really important and very useful tips that you've given there, Louise. Thank you. So we are running a little bit late with time, but that was due to the later start. So rather than about 5 minutes, we'll just give it a couple of minutes for a quick comfort break. If you need to go and grab a quick drink, or go to the toilet, or just stretch your legs, and then we'll come back straight in at let's say, actually, let's do 5 minutes. So we'll come back straight in at 5 to 3, 2:55. For Jahman's talk. And with this one, obviously, Louise spoke about networking tips, and with Jahman, he's going to be speaking about a little bit more and elaborating on how to cultivate those networks as well. So we look forward to hearing from him in 5 minutes, and we shall see you all shortly. Hello everyone, welcome back. Hope you were able to stretch your legs a bit and refresh, take some time away from the screen before we go on to our next speaker. So once again, thank you so much to Louise for her presentation. There'll be an opportunity to ask Louise questions towards the end of this part of the event. So do keep them in mind. You can already start to type those in the chat as well. And for those who are attending the event on Zoom, you'll have the opportunity to ask those questions to them directly. So without further ado, we're going to go on to our next speaker, Jahman Anikulapo, who is based in Lagos, Nigeria. He is the Executive Programme Director for Cultural Advocates Caucus and Programme Chair for Committee for Relevant Art. So over to you, Jahman.
Well, I hope I'm being heard. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Well, yeah, well, good afternoon, everyone. Let me throw a couple of caveat there. Number one, I told Jonathan that I might be the one to help me to share my screen because I'm having a lot of challenges with my internet. Okay, so Jonathan, if you are there, please. Hello.
Hi, Innocent is here.
Innocent, sorry.
Jonathan is out of office.
Yeah. Well, the caveat I want to throw is I'm not apologetic about saying that I live in Lagos. And if you live in Lagos, you know what Lagos does to you. I've loaded my internet. I'm using 2 devices, but the internet keeps, kept bouncing me up. Those are some of the things that Louise said I couldn't hear them. But I hope you can manage it. I'm trying to not share my whole screen because every time I do that, it just knocks me off. So I hope I'm able to survive this session. I've had one this morning and it was okay. So I don't know what is going on from this now. Hello?
Yes, we can see the presentation.
Hello?
Yes, can you hear us?
Can you hear us,
Okay.
Jahman?
My name is Jahman Anikulapo, and as I've been introduced, I'll be talking about what I call the CNs just now. I call myself the Janus agent Of course, you know about the Janus face. It means that I have double face. I saw one of my bosses enter the room just before I was about to start. Jide Adeni Jones. I work with him at the Guardian. Yes. So I'm an artist. I'm a culture producer. I'm a culture curator and a culture promoter. That's what I do mainly now. But there was a time I was in the newsroom, and I was a journalist, a literary critic, as I've been dubbed, a culture communicator, and a culture promoter. You can see that I've tried to link the two. Okay, I'm an artist because I studied theater arts, specializing in directing and literary criticism from the University of Ibadan. And I worked as an artist on television. As a matter of fact, I'm proud to say that I was one of the first sort of people in the new Nollywood, the one that started in the late in '89. That's when I joined them. And then but then I didn't join journalism, and you get to understand why I had to join journalism eventually, because it was a mission that I just had to take up. When I discovered that it was not possible to be an artist and get enough coverage from the media the way it happens in other places. So that's the first caveat. The second caveat is that I'm not like Louise. I was trying to pronounce the second name because I'm not a professional speaker. I'm an artist. So I produce. So I'm not an art manager or a communicator in that sense that she has been able to produce, to present for us. But that is just about the two caveats that I want to render. Now, as I'm a Janus agent because I do this too. And I've asked the question, successful and greatness. I'm sure we're all aware that there are differences between being a successful artist and being a great artist. If it was more, maybe when you get into the room, I'll be able to tell you that Fela, the way we know him, is a great artist, but he was able to move from being successful to being great. But there are also artists who are successful, not necessarily great. That's why you talk about, you know, the careers that start on a bright note and they just disappear. And I like to say that Nigeria, probably some other countries in Africa, is a graveyard for great talent. A lot of talents come up, they get all the applause and everything, and then they just fizzle out. I don't know how we do that, but you know that it's been happening. I can tell you, in my head, I can roll out about 50. If I can even start with the younger artists, the one we know in the hip hop or in the Nollywood, you know the way they come up, you see all the talent and everything is there, and then they just fizzle out. I know that one of the problems is the environment, the environmental factor, the way our system is organized, that we don't necessarily give them the necessary support. But I also know that an artist has to decide right from the beginning if you want to be successful or you want to be great. Decided right from the beginning you wanted to be great. That's why you may not have made money, but you know that you cannot do anything here without Fela. There's no music really that has come out of Africa without Fela. That's what has led to the invention of what we call Afrobeats. You know, Whiskey, Davido, and all of them. Because Fela chose to be great. I know this because I'm related to the family and I grew up going to the shrine with my father. So I know the story. I could tell you the story. And I've also edited a book on Fela written by Benson Idonije, who is Burna Boy's grandfather. I had to get him to write that book, which was a compilation of most of the things he wrote for me at the Guardian when I was an editor. And we published it into a book. And I was able to trace the fact that Fela deliberately chose to be a great artist, even though he knew that success was also on his lap. That's about me and So the organization that I run, which you may have been told about, is the Committee for Relevant Art. Up to now. In fact, most of what is happening now about the Fulanization, about killings. Hello?
Hi, Jahman. Are you okay
Yeah,
there?
the internet, I'm having internet, it just bombed me off.
Would you like
Can I
to
go
try?
on?
Yes, you can go on. Would you like to try presenting with your camera off? Would that be helpful?
Okay. Is it okay now?
Yes, and then if you want to share screen again, it might work better just with your camera off and then the screen shared.
Yeah, I'll put the camera off now. Shall I share again?
Yes.
Hello. Just need this swap. Is it okay now?
Yes, we can see the screen.
Okay. Well, it's still telling me my internet is not stable. Well, I was saying that in 1991, we decided to form what we call the Committee for Relevant Art, because at that time, because of the general situation of things in the country, a lot of artists started to go the populist way, what we call the populist way. And the populist way is that you do things that will just be of interest to just the consumer. You were producing more for the producer, for the consumers. You were not necessarily creating work because you feel that that is what you want to create. And there's somebody had just written a book then called, I'm sure many of us, I don't know the age range there. She was May Ellen Ezekiel. She just launched a book that she called, I was already a practicing arts writer at the Guardian newspaper. And she launched what you call the pop literature. And we thought that at that moment when politics was high and the Nigerian situation was getting so bad that a lot of people were being killed because they were agitating for democracy, for human rights. They were disappearing or being killed. And that was the time that the artist decided, which is like a sister to me, decided to launch what she called the pop literature. And we thought that pop literature cannot be what you have to feed the Nigerian populace. You have to do art that is not art for art's sake. It has to be art for relevance. And that is the origin of the Committee for Relevant Art. So I don't know if I have time to read everything that is there, but if you're able to read the text that I have there, I was just talking about why we have to form Cora at that time, June 2nd, 1991, as a club of artists, art patrons, and art critics with the aim of providing a platform for discussions and debates on national cultural issues. Because we were not allowed, mostly, to discuss politics. So we thought the only way you can get the artists interested to give them a voice is to make sure that they also use their art to contribute to our culture. In fact, we used to, in those days, we were agonizing that a lot of artist organizations there, Society of Nigerian Artists, Arts Organization of Nigeria, Association of Nigerian Authors, Theatre Arts Association of Nigeria, that they were not using their arts to promote cause of democracy, where everybody was afraid. Yeah, we were going into democracy and we're not interested in what was going on. So that was what led to the formation of the Committee for Relevant Art. And we started what we call the Art Stampede. The Art Stampede is like the artist parliament, where we expect the artist to come and ventilate. Because the way you can kill an artist is if the artist is not able to ventilate what is brewing in his head. That could be the beginning of mental illness. So we got the artists to congregate. We started from Festac to congregate in Festac Town, anywhere we chose to meet. In fact, we were very eclectic. We were moving around because we know that they were sending security men into those meetings. So the Committee for Relevant Art was to conscientize the artists and make the artists to become the conscience of the nation. And since then, we then moved on to getting into what we call we started our program. We have a robust program now that we call ourselves the cultural landscapist. What does a landscapist do? You plant ideas in the head of people, or you plant something somewhere and you expect it to germinate. So what we do at the Committee for Relevant Art is that we plant ideas in people's head, in people's mind. We want to mess up with people's mind by planting ideas in their mind. And we know that when the idea is in their mind, there's no way they will not live up to those ideas. So Coral's program is about education, about enlightenment, and about empowerment. And at some point, maybe I'll get to explain some of those programs. I hope I'm communicating anyway. So my second organization is the Cultural Advocates Caucus. You know, I said that the Coral was set up to be a parliament. A parliament is where you go for ideation, where you throw in idea and you debate it, you discuss it, and then it leads to action. So Coral did not want to get involved with doing action because we don't have the capacity, and especially because we wanted to be focused. So that's why we said we don't remain at that level. So what we do, we're planting ideas in the mind of the cultural organization, Association of Nigerian Authors, Theatre Artists Association of Nigeria, Society of Nigerian Artists. We're planting ideas in it because we invite them. They come, and when we discuss ideas, we say we think the art should talk about what is going on about their democracy. And many of them really got the idea and they were doing, but they were not doing enough. So we then had to go back to the drawing table. Well, we still didn't want to pull Cora out of his idea planting mode. So I started on my own what I call the Cultural Advocate Caucus. But if you check the Cultural Advocate Caucus, it is the same people that you have in the Committee for Relevant Art that you find there. So the Cultural Advocate Caucus is like the implementing arm for Cora. It organizes most of the program, and I'm the program chairman for Cora anyway. So the ideas that Cora cannot implement, because we don't also want to be seen as competing with the artist organization that we brought in as members. So we have to make sure that we are that one organization is carrying that, and that's what I've been doing. And I'll go to the combination of these two organizations. Let me show you what they realize. This is a meeting of the Coalition of Nigerian Artists. As at 1994, when the government saw that we were becoming a nuisance, that we're always disturbing public peace and we're making noise, writing articles in the papers and things, what did they do? They decided to buy us, to bring us in. So I remember talking to the minister there. I was a reporter. So I went there and he said, look, the reason you guys, I think it was Jerry Ghana, I said, the reason government cannot do anything for the artists because all of you are speaking at cross purposes. This one will say this one will say that. You people are not organized. We say, okay, if it is organizing, we will go back. Then we went back and formed the Coalition of Nigerian Artists. In that table, I was looking for an appropriate photo, but I think this will do. In that table, you see a visual artist. The guy in white is a journalist. The one with the in native with the Hausa cap is a writer. He was the Secretary General of Association of Nigerian Authors then. The one in blue shirt is he was the president of National Association of Nigerian Theatre Arts Practitioners. The other one is, of course, the legend Oladejo is a painter.
Jahman, I think we've lost you on sound again. I think you're on mute, Jahman.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry again. I don't know whether to apologize on behalf of Nigeria or on behalf of myself, but I live here. So what can I do? So So we formed the Coalition of Nigerian Artists, which brings all the artist organizations together, actually their organizations. And in bringing them together, we are able to develop ideas that we work together on. One of the things that we did is to save the National Theatre. I put those names there just for information. The cooperation of those people that you saw on the table, there are more of them. There are the women artists and co. There are musicians, but that's the photo that I felt represented them. It was through this movement that we saved the life of the National Theatre of Nigeria. When Obasanjo was leaving in 1999, and the last item he signed was that National Theatre should be sold off. We didn't even know who they wanted to sell it to, but we know that the Bureau of Public Enterprise was interested, and we knew who was in charge of Bureau of Public Enterprise, one of the top politicians who had tried to be president. And they wanted to sell the National Theatre, and we're asking them, so if you sell the National Theatre, how do the artists continue to have a share of the National Theatre? And they told us, well, they have to do it. In fact, the last thing I remember I saw the paper, it was in green pen. He signed it on May 28, 1999, and this one was going May 29, 1999. So we had to quickly come together to come up with an idea, and we said, you cannot sell. And I remember the campaign we did at the National Theatre, where we got the most important artist from Nigeria at that time, Steve Rhodes, to stand in front of the National Theatre and said, if you are going to sell this place, you have to sell me. And he had about 200 of us surrounding him. So the BPE came to take over. They couldn't, they went back, and we knew that we had won the battle. So I'm saying it was the cooperation of all these artist organizations that came together, because that's where I'm going. That's where my conclusion will be. It is a combination of these organizations that came together that saved the theater. If the National Association of Nigerian Theatre Practitioners alone, because it's a theater, if they had tried to save the National Theatre, they would have failed woefully. So we were able to get all the artists to save the life of National Theatre. So that's National Theatre of Nigeria for you. Of course, you know, fast forward, was it early this year or late last year, the government eventually woke up to what we were saying. We said that even if you want to take over the National Theatre, please, can you just ensure that you bring people who have financial muscle, not that you give it out as political patronage to some people who have no business with the National Theatre. You just give it to them, and then it becomes somebody's property. Of course, you know the way they've been appropriating property in Nigeria, in Lagos. Somebody takes over federal government, our patrimony, and turn it into a private project. So we said, if you want to do that, please bring people who have financial muscles. And last year, we started the process of setting up the Bankers Committee, which is now going to invest 25 billion naira in the National Theatre. By our calculation, even though they are not transparent, it's very opaque because they didn't give us all the paper, but we know, and they've started the construction now, but we know that by the time they finish the National Theatre, at least not less than 1,000 young artists will be employed there, because they have what they call the creative corps, where young painters, photographers, dancers, and co can have their own places to practice. And if they are practicing around there, there is no way they will not employ people. There's no way National Theatre, if it's functioning, will not employ people. There will be a craft village. It's a lot of dream. There will be fashion. So many things will be happening at the National Theatre when it comes on stream by the.
Hi, Jahman, we've lost you on sound again. Hi, Jahman, can you hear me?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
You can hear me? Okay. Let me just go back to this slide. I didn't know this would come. But, okay. So, what you have in the middle there should not have been Cora, it should have been Kona, but I couldn't get the logo because Kona itself expired. and I've been looking for the logo. I said I was going to send it to Innocent, but I couldn't. I'm saying that these three some are the things that I do. I do the Committee for Relevant Art, I do the CONA, I do the Cultural Advocacy Caucus. If you check the three of them, they are networked and they are collaborating. So that's where I'm going in the end. I requested for, or it was sent to us by Innocent, the motivation, why you want to be in this particular experience. And I studied everything that you wanted to do, and I use it to prepare what I've prepared. Because you talk about a broader view of your practice, about satisfying your curiosity, about global insight, about gaining knowledge, networking, learning about building networks, insight and knowledge, how top creations collaborate, always looking for further insight and knowledge from other people, to learn from participants the dynamics of culture production and management in this new one. And then advanced question, how do I collaborate with much more senior designer? I think that was a specific question for Louise. How to use creatively collaboration effectively for sustainable network across African countries. How do you balance supporting local and international audiences? And so those are your motivations. And I'm saying that everything that I've been saying comes to the next slide I'm showing now. If you want to go fast, this is an African proverb. If you want to go fast, please go alone. If you want to go far, go together. In my language, I'm Yoruba, say Aboro Lanso Fomoluabi. That means you give the token of the message to a wise person, and the person gets the message. That's what this African proverb is saying. If you want to go fast, please go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. The whole thing that this is saying is about networking, it's about collaboration, it's about cooperation, especially if you live in a kind of environment where, I'm sorry to say, this is not a popular opinion. It's not a popular opinion. And I know we have some patriots in the room. We are not likely to ever have government that will ever listen to the voice of the artist or the voice of the people. It's a controversial statement. You can quote me anywhere. I've said it on television. We will never, or okay, let me moderate myself. We may never have government. This is the way I speak. I'm part of the Sorosoke group. We may never have a system that works for us, that will make us to realize the dream that when we're growing up, the dream that you have, I want to become this, I want to become that. You may never have that opportunity. So you better learn how to network, how to cooperate, how to collaborate, how to do things together. And even if you don't want to do this, the COVID has planted that in our head. I've participated in a lot of webinars like this. I'm doing one again tomorrow too. That I noticed that during this lockdown, that all of us were sitting behind our laptop, I got a lot more young people collaborating with others, and they were making progress. I could see the way their talent have been rising. I'll mention some of them as I go on. So everything I've been saying, I've been talking about the fact that as an artist, you want to be steady, you want to sustain, you want to survive. I think our basic aim as artists or as creators, as creatives, is to survive. It's to not monetary survivor, but to survive as human beings and survive with our talent and our skill intact, and be able to use our talent and skill to be able to help the community. I said today is April 29. Today is World Dance Day, International Dance Day. If I was not doing this, I'll be joining another webinar. What that says to me, I want to pay tribute to some three people that I'm sure the artists in the house, you'll be familiar with their name. There's a young man called Segun Adefila. 25 years ago, Segun must be in his late 40s. 25 years ago, as a young secondary school boy, he started what they call the Crown Troupe of Africa. This month, they are 25. He's been keeping a body for 25 years. He's my hero. Because at that age when he started, he shouldn't have started. And he started in Bariga. Segun, through his singular contribution, has been able to change the face of the young people in Bariga. And he has bred so many other groups. Footprints of David, Gifted Stepper, so many other groups have grown up around him who could have been
who could have ended up on the wrong side of the law. If you know Bariga in Lagos very well, you know what I'm talking about, Koka Bariga. But through the creativity that he brought in, it's been able to liberate quite a lot of people. So that I was liberated from, I could have ended up an area boy in the area where I grew up. If I didn't meet my boss, Bentomology, who was my teacher in school, he said, you have to be an artist because you have the talent. And he turned me into an artist and sent me to the university. So if you want to survive, if you want to continue to create, to network, to cooperate, and to collaborate, that's my CNCC. You have to be steady in terms of creation. You have to be mindful that you're an artist. You just want to be an artist, you want to create. So an artist creates first before even listening to what the public is saying. So you must be steady with your creativity. If you are not steady with your creativity, if you think that you are just coming in just to make money, you know the language they use now, because my son says it too, he does a bit of me, he says he wants to blow. I said, you better blow me before you blow. He wants to blow. But for you to be blow, you have to be consistent at your creativity. My boss in the other I mentioned, Jide Adeni Jones, I've known him as a photographer before I ever became a journalist. He's still doing photography and he's doing quite a lot of work, mentoring a lot of young people, even as it's not in Nigeria. So you must be, first of all, steady in your creativity. Then you have to sustain what you're doing. How do you sustain it? You can only sustain it when you work with others. Again, another Yoruba, I'm an African, I'm going to be an elder very soon. That Agbajowo Lafin Soya. That means you can only strike your chest with your bunch of fists. You cannot strike your chest with your finger. You strike your chest with your fist. Or you cannot sweep the floor with a broomstick. You have to have a bunch of broomsticks. So that is what network does to you. And when you do that, you cooperate with others. You look for what other people are doing and you cooperate with them, and then you can. I practice my career as an artist, as a curator, all over the continent, just by cooperating. I know people in different places. I've done 2 festivals outside of here without leaving behind my laptop. Fortunately, I had a steady internet. I do a lot of things and I get paid for doing that, just sitting behind there. But because I network with people in Mali, we just finished one in Burkina Faso. If you check my Facebook, you see that I was promoting some artists, a festival of women artists, because I just cooperate with others. I know their program, I've studied their program. I said, look, I can bring this to what you're doing, and they say, just come in, and I join them. So I collaborate with them. So you want to be steady with your creativity, you want to sustain, and then you want to survive. And then the CMCC that I said that I wanted to talk about is about creating, about cooperating, about networking, about collaborating with others. Again, I said, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. That's just as it goes. The same time, just using images here. For me, and I think this is where I'm wrapping up. I'm saying that art for me is life, and life is art. If you go to I have a blog, a website where I publish cultural news. I put it, I said, art is life. I've been begged to remove it. I said, no. What is missing in the life of an average Nigerian, or what is missing in the life of Nigeria currently that would seem to be going in the direction that we're going, is because art and cultural education, art that can help us with our socialization process have been removed from everywhere. And because all these have been removed, we're living a life that is devoid of life. Say, when we came out of civil war in 1970, you know how Nigeria saved itself. It's not the proclamation by the head of state. The proclamation, what helped us to get out of civil war, whether a group of 5 people, Ambassador Segun Olushola, television producer, Erabo Emokpae, the Damas Anikano, I've forgotten his full name now, Aigimokwede, and one other person. They came together and started what they call the Nigerian Art Society. It was the Nigerian Art Society that helped to unite Nigeria. It was not the proclamation of the head of state. It was not soccer. Definitely, it was not soccer. It was the Nigerian Art Society where they said, if you are a dancer, bring your dance from all over the country, bring it to Lagos. And everybody brought their dances from everywhere. And people were fighting, the Easterners and the Northerners versus the Southerners. Everybody came on the same stage and they were dancing. And they took that idea from what happened in Senegal in 1966, where Africa was united at the first Festac. That was the first Festac. And then we now came to the second Festac in 1977. But 1970, that's what all these young people, they were young then, they were in their churches. They came together and launched what they call, the Nigerian Art Society. And they had this National Art Festival that brought everybody on the dance stage. And that was where handshakes across the borders started to happen. And that was how we liberated the country, the fragile soul of the country through the instrumentality of the art. So art for me is life, and life is art. I say it everywhere I go. It's the way I normally conclude everything that I have to say anyway. So that I can knock this into our consciousness, I end here. If you want to go fast, please go alone. If you want to go far, please go together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jahman. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and knowledge, and for dealing with some of the technical issues that we've had. I think something that we've learned from, something we can take away from today's event is obviously I suppose the cross-cultural kind of differences. Of course, Louise was speaking from perspective of the UK, and then you had Jahman speaking from the perspective of from a Nigerian perspective as well. And so we do really appreciate that. And for those who aren't in Nigeria, I'm sure you can appreciate and understand as well that at times there may be some complications with an internet connection as well, but you handled it very well, Jahman. Thank you so much for that and for your presentation. So what we're going to do is we're going to go straight into a Q&A. It will probably be a bit less because I'm aware that we are behind schedule a little bit. So please feel free to ask your questions in the chat if you have any, or just raise your hand by going to reactions on the bottom of the screen and clicking the raise hand feature, and yeah, I'm sure the two speakers would be more than happy to answer your questions. And while we wait for some questions to come through, I'll ask some of the questions that we received in advance through the registration. So the first question that we have here from the registration is how do you best manage multiple talent? So as a producer or a curator?
How do you manage multiple talent? That's a challenging question. I'm not sure it's such a broad statement. Is the person who asked the question here? Can you open it out?
Just have a look. They may not be in the room anymore. No, they may very well be on viewing.
On YouTube. Okay. Well, I'll think about what kind of answer for that. I mean, with our programs and what we do at Quad and Format. Excuse me, we deal with people of all stages of their careers and all abilities and all capacities and neurodiversities and physical abilities and so on consistently, and people find a place and a way and an opportunity to do things. That we have so many different programs happening simultaneously that people can find the relevant way to engage, but also when we're curating programs and making decisions about who to include as well, we try to facilitate the opportunities to include as many different people as possible, so that people at all stages of their careers and interests and abilities can engage as well. So we'll have ways that people can make work, see work, contribute to programs, listen to others who have a higher skill level as aspirational inspirations, but also for example, in Formats, we have a room dedicated to young people. We did a young people's open call. We did a set of programs with young people and their families who have autism as well. So they've contributed, and their artworks are valued and, you know, in a similar plane to everyone else's. And we support emerging artists from all over the world to make new work as well. We try to support the ecosystem. We're not just about showing things that are already made. And we want to try and help any little bit of resource that we do have to get to the artists directly, so that they can convert that into sustaining their practice. And as Jahman was talking about, and also in my kind of commonalities within both our presentations about resilience and confidence building, sustaining a practice, persistence. It's interesting to hear about when you're saying, Jahman, about why artists, kind of young artists or burgeoning artists, people with talent, you can see them blossoming and blooming and doing really well, but then they reach a certain level and aren't able to progress. And that happens, I think, all over the world as well. And if the circumstances aren't right, to just kind of keep the momentum going at that kind of midpoint career or early emergence stage. I think that's really interesting to try and unravel and understand what can be done to support artists and creatives and producers and others to keep going. But I think also during the pandemic, people have been mobilizing and collaborating online a bit more and finding a voice and finding ways to do things. You know, you don't need a lot of money, or you don't need any money sometimes to do something. You can just be motivated. You can write. Everyone can do some way of sharing their work, one way or another. But of course, you need to eat and live and have a home in one way or another. So you need to make money, either through your art practice or through other means. But it doesn't deny the fact that you can be creative at any moments in your life throughout your whole life. But here we're trying to help people specialize and be everything that they want to be. But if you're going to have a 70-year long or more, God willing, a longer life and longer career in the arts, it will go through ebb and flow, and you'll find your the way that you participate in things changes over the years. But hopefully through good networking skills and good networking from the beginning of your career, you hopefully kind of create and seed an environment where there's a kind of ecosystem that co-supports and collaboration and participation, and certainly we're running together rather than alone is absolutely the way to go. And experimenting with the collaborators who might shift and change over time as well, of course. What do you think, Jahman?
Well, thank you very much. I think you said, yeah. In fact, I like the fact that your center has room for virtually everyone. The way I relate to that question, it's about, there's something we say about an African person, that you tend to have a knowledge of how to do virtually everything, especially if you're an artist. Most of us are actors, we're dancers, we're musicians, we're easy orientation, where we can draw, I can paint, I do my shirt myself some of the time, because these are just things I picked in the environment, even though I didn't learn them in school. I won't mention photography so that my boss will not be angry. But you could do virtually everything. How did I become a journalist? Because I was an actor on television. And I saw that nobody wanted to write about, I'm talking of 1981 to 83 as an actor in Ajo production. And we noticed with someone like Richard Damijo, who is one of our top actors, that the journalists were not interested in writing about the arts. What did we do? We turned ourselves to writers. We started writing and using other names. So we explored our talent as writers too. And we could still dance, we could still do everything that we wanted to do. So an average, I'm sorry that I'm deteriorating, like I'm localizing it. An average Nigerian, young Nigerian, for instance, knows that he has multiple talents. So how do you apply all of this? But that is where my preachment about networking comes in. Because I know in Lagos alone, and I think Innocent can bear me witness, I produce a literature festival. I produce a jazz festival. I produce a poetry festival. I'm part of the ArtX. I'm part of the Lagos Biennale. I'm doing so many things because I know that I have a bit of all of this in me. I'm even part of the fashion show, even though it's not the normal fashion show. We call it a creative fusion. But because I know of all of this, I don't have the capacity to do all of them. So what I do, I look for the person who is doing the poetry festival. I linked up with him. I know there's something I can contribute. I know of the person doing the fashion. I know there's something I can contribute. I look for the one who is doing the drum festival. I'm part of it. So here you can manage your multiple talent through the idea of cooperating with others and collaborating with others. And it all starts from networking. As human beings, the first condition for humanity, apart from justice, is that you can network, because you must have come from somebody, you know people that you can relate with. That's where I relate to that question, that you have all these things beaming in your head. Do not try to be the musician, the actor, the dancer, the everything. Get other people who have those skills in abundance and liaise with them so that you can spread your talent across board. If you, as I said, I do a lot of festivals, a lot of programs outside of Nigeria, because there are people doing a concert in Mali, and I told them that, look, I can get on your board and help you with designing your programs and things, and they brought me in. I get some livelihood from there. I'm doing one. I teach a class in Germany, for instance, because you know that I'm a media person. I can do training. So what I can say is that keep your normal talent if you're a musician or you are a designer, but then look for other areas of strength that others have and join them. So that's the way I relate to that question. I don't know if it works for you, Dan.
Thank you very much, Jahman. I think it's the expression, not putting all of your eggs in one basket, or being, what's the, I forgot what the quote is, it's something about being a master of none, jack of all trades and the master of none. But thank you so much for that, for your answer. And thank you so much for your response as well, Louise. So we have a question from our, from the YouTube stream, from G. Sian, who's based in Leicester in the UK. Hi, G. And his question is for Jahman, which is, what does the UK arts ecology look like through a Nigerian lens?
Sorry, I didn't get it.
Oh, sorry, I'll just repeat that question. So it's, what does the UK arts ecology look like through a Nigerian lens?
Oh, okay. Well, I've never been there. I've done stuff with British Council. My disagreement with the British Council had always been that they bring programs. Sorry, I know they are part of this project. That they bring program to us and it doesn't look like we have a voice. Left to me, we're back to the whole colonization debate, and I don't want to get into that debate with them. So I insist on the program that I do with British Council. It has to have my content. I know I can benefit from the training after I had the British education and co. But if it doesn't have my own input, it's of no relevance to me. I know it's your money, but I mean, I have to also bring because that's what I'm bringing. That's my identity. I even do with German, because I live partly in Germany too, with the Germans. I insist that I must have my cultural content. So the way I see the British art scene from here is that they mean well. There's a lot of creativity going on there. Many of our artists are practicing there. We even have artists who have earned members of the British Empire or Order of the British Empire just by dancing and doing stuff. But from here, it is still distant from us. We know it is robust, and yeah, there's a lot of support because I've also done stuff in London in the days of Agido dance company, and I've collaborated with them. And so from here, it's I'll say the picture is romantic for me. I mean, I believe that everything is happening in Britain. They have access to facilities. They have access to funding. They have access to institutional support. That is what an average artist here does not have. So it's difficult for me to contemplate the British art scene from the lens of a Nigerian. If I'm to do that, I'll say that it's a very romantic setting. They have everything going for them, whereas I have nothing. So what I have to do manual, you probably would deploy more of technology. This is me struggling with internet just to be able to be part of this program that I've been preparing for. This is me. When you talk about being ready, in fact, I gave a talk, one of this webinar, where I said, the people who spoke there were from Australia, from all the places, and they were telling us to take our theater to the screen. just start doing a theater on the screen. I said, it cannot. It's not possible. How do you run theater on Zoom? Imagine that I'm doing a show. This is my life. This is Zoom. I can't do it. I've tried Skype. I've tried the Google Hangout. So the new norm, that they say the art can survive on the screen. Maybe in another 2-3 decades when we now invest in technology, because we did not invest in technology. So the technology power is not here. I know what young people, because as I've said, my son does music, he does animation and all of that. I know the problem he goes through. He has to relocate from Lagos simply because he cannot do his animation because there's no, as I'm talking to you, there's no light. So if they have this serious infrastructural problem, the way you condition, the way you are conditioned to see what is happening in other places, that they live in paradise and you are just living in this, it's not hell, but in this hole, and you are just trying to make the best out of it. So I pity a young artist from here who is trying to break out here into the world. Because there's a question among the questions that was sent to me about how do you network global? How do you network with global resources and co? I think that a young person who is practicing from here, for instance, you should look for opportunities in those other places. And as I've said, during this lockdown, I saw quite a lot of young artists that I normally would talk to. I say, look, find your fit, look for other people who are doing similar stuff like you and join them, link up with them so that you guys can. I did a festival for show in Car last year, his birthday. I ran 3 days of no sleep. I ran it from here. You know who was hosting? San Diego University in the US, in Florida. San Diego University, in the US. I'm doing a webinar tomorrow. It is San Diego that will host it for me. I've done a program before that was hosted in China. The only problem we had was the time difference because they were in the middle of the night when I was in the morning here. So it goes back to the question of networking, studying the ecosystem in other places and finding your fit with them. I still do things with them in the UK, in the US. I sit down here and I do it, but I will not be the one hosting. I don't need to get a good internet. They will host for me, but I'll do the show from here. So I know I went beyond the brief of the question, but that's the way I say it.
Thank you, Jahman. Thank you. And I know that we are behind schedule, but I just wanted to end this segment of the this segment of the event with a question for both Louise and Jahman. So, and it kind of follows on a little bit from what Jahman was speaking about, some of the challenges or maybe some of the resources that, for example, Nigerian artists may not have in comparison to UK artists. Briefly, could you both kind of sum up or give suggestions of how there could be more cross-collaboration and how maybe British artists and British cultural organisations can connect better with Nigerian organisations or other organisations on the continent and vice versa? Louise, would you like to go first?
Yeah, there's it's quite hard to know where to start on answering that, but I'll find a way. Yeah, I mean, for artist perspectives, it's the way that we try to get our opportunities through to as many people as possible. I mean, the trouble is that so much is internet based, and calls for opportunities are do need colleagues to spread the news. So talking at events like this and meeting Jahman and tapping into his network and sharing opportunities and hopefully getting the information through to as many people as possible is really, really crucial. We've been working with Azu Noakbogu as well from African Artists Foundation, Lagos Photo Festival, and also Innocent Knows with the other photography projects around as well. So it's about spending time and committing time over years to collaborate and develop partnerships and share and understand what opportunities are needed in different contexts as well, because it's not always relevant to share the same opportunities in every single place. But most artists do want visibility. They do want momentum. They do want to be recognized. They do want to be seen. I say artists in the most broadest sense, as Jahman's been talking about, from artists, performers, cultural producers, writers, and people active culturally and creatively as audiences and as participants. It's certainly important for people to see the opportunities in the first instance, and to have practice at how to access them as well. So our portfolio review, we had free places for people to participate, but that was online, but we had opportunities there are ways around the live situation, recording your performance, recording your work, sharing your work in online spaces that doesn't need a live link up at that moment in time to access it, through film programs, of course, and kind of recorded performances that are streamed in a live event from the host, as you know, but it doesn't have to be live from the site of origin. And also kind of sharing portfolios through portfolio hosted websites where you can look at where the reviewers can look at them and feedback directly on the images, and you can have a conversation with the person if you can find a way to hook up. But I know when I've done portfolio reviews in various different places, there's been not just the internet troubles, but power cuts every few minutes and all kinds of other things that just absolutely limit and make it really challenging to have kind of live paths of communication with people. But where there's a will, there's a way, and persistence works, and sustaining your energy and not giving up, and finding a way to consistently kind of plug away and be present on the websites, have a good website, share your link, build up networks, get people's contact details, make a good newsletter as well. You can command your destiny in different ways. You can share your content, you can find people's contact details, you can add them to your mailing list, you can make a newsletter 2, 3 or whatever times a year when you've got relevant information to share. You can set up your own events, and make a portal where people can come and see that content and access it. And there's different ways around it, but I think certainly the way that Quad and Format works, we're absolutely open and building up relationships with our amazing colleagues around the world, and genuinely interested in deepening those relationships. So it takes time. I've been doing this for 23 years now, and got some amazing partnerships, but of course there's more that can be done. And we don't have big resources, of course, but it's all relative, isn't it? We have some resource, and absolutely grateful for our government for having something like the Arts Council that does facilitate public money to be available for culture, and for us to have an arts organisation that it's quite a luxury really to have a non-profit arts organisation in the size of the building that we do have. And we're certainly not complacent about what that is and what that means, and trying to share that opportunity locally, nationally and internationally as well. So we're doing as much as we can, I think, in terms of communicating. But the way to do it is all kinds of different ways, but there's nothing better than actually being in the place. Online networking, of course, is all well and good, but I went to Lagos and Sazi, we were there at the same time in 2019, weren't we? And being on the ground and understanding the situation of travel and the internet and all sorts of different things, and the kind of dynamic and exciting, brilliant people that we met who are doing amazing work. There's nothing better than that, than being on the ground, and being on the ground more than once as well, of course, and building that up over the years. Also exchanging and collaborating, and like Jahman says, absolutely recognising and valuing the contributing voices, and not trying to dictate, and not assuming, and not producing programmes that override the people who are contributing to them. So all those things and more. I'll let Jahman join in.
Okay. Shall I go on?
Yes, please, Jahman.
Oh, okay. Well, I am on the same page with Louise and what she's saying about what you need to do. I just want to break it into concept. Information is power. You are a product of what you know. If you don't have information, there's no way you can use that information. So we have to, as artists, the first thing I think an artist should do is to, first of all, be very, very interested in what is going on in other places. If we don't have that information about what is happening in UK, there's no way it can be part of it. A personal example, British Library. There was a year they wanted to do something about African music. And the British Council, they've been coming to British Council, I think they were not making headway. And somebody just told me that, look, these people are looking for music and they want to do something around African music. And they were saying, no, they can't get some of the works. I wrote directly to the British Library that I think I could get you Nigerian music over the ages. If I did not have that information, I would not have been able to do that. I was flown to London to go and help put part of that program together. And then they came back and they did a project there. And so information is power. If you have the information, you can actually use the information. So that's the way I would say that. And how do you get information is about showing interest, about having your own presence. Your presence means that, in fact, it's so easy now. When I was practicing fully as an artist, I mean, when I was an actor, dancer, and the rest of them, I didn't really have so much to do.
We didn't have access to where on the phone you can just put, you know what we call Babalawo, Google. You just search for something and it jumps out and do a lot of grants. I have website where I'm publishing grants and young people. But if I did not, I'm saying that if I did not have those information, how would I be able to do some of the things I do in Francophone? I don't speak French, but I do programs there. I do programs in South Africa, I do in East Africa. How do I get to know some of these things? Because when I'm in the course of my work, I try to understand what other people are doing. And because I also have network, I know people who are doing stuff. I know who is doing something in Cameroon. If I don't know, I will ask, do you know anyone who is doing it? Say I was director of African Drum Festival. I was doing it on behalf of my boss, Oladejo. I work with him. I'm his program person. So, and we needed artists from around.
Sorry, there's just some feedback there, Jahman.
Masters who have mastered the I just called one person in Cameroon. I said, I know you are in Cameroon. I know you produce music. Can you link me with different artists who are master drummers in different places? He gave me 25 names. He ended up bringing 18 of them to the state government. He got 18 of them. Some of those guys, I've never met them before. I may never meet them again, but they have become, some of them have become my brothers because I knew someone who was working in an organization that I know can have linked to them. What am I saying? I'm saying that as young artists or as artists, do not be afraid to join organizations. See, organizations pay a lot. If you belong to, for instance, if you're a theater artist and you belong to NANTAB, NANTAB is National Association of Nigerian Artists. British Council, Goethe Institute, Alliance Française, even places from Australia, in fact, Brazil, they just sent some other information that they needed certain people to participate in the program. You can only get to know about those things if you are a member of NANTAB because they sent it directly to NANTAB. If NANTAB decides to sit on it, you will not know. If you're a visual artist and they need, I think it was the what was the exhibition that was going on, I think they eventually postponed it. It was because they sent it to the Society of Nigerian Artists. We then broadcast it to its members, so they got it. If you are not a member, how will you get to know that? You may not like the politics they play in there, but please go in. You know why you're going inside there, and then you get the information that you need. But if you don't belong, how will you know? If you think that as a single artist, you can do all that. Because as an artist, you're supposed to have a manager. You're supposed to have an agent who gets all these opportunities for you. And it's not only when you are blown or blowed that you have to get somebody who is looking after that managerial aspect of your career. So you need to join some of those organizations. At least belong to a network that can get you information. I was chairman of Arterial Network. We formed Arterial Network, was it 2007, when we went to Senegal on Gorée Island. And people were saying, we don't even know theater festival in the Republic. They actually said you don't know. They didn't know there was a music festival in Burkina Faso or in Mali and Co. So we formed Arterial Network. Arterial Network, from its name, it's an organization for artists, cultural producers, anything that is happening around the world, I get to know through Arterial Network. I don't leave my room. Just by being a member, I was chairman for Nigeria and West Africa. we're begging people, come and join us so that you can benefit. A lot of funding opportunities out there, but people don't know. How you get to know if you belong to the network, or if you are cooperating with others, or if you are collaborating with others. So I go back to the beginning of my preachment, that is what we need as artists to survive. As I have said, a system that is still battling education problem, poverty problem, health problem, they will not have time for the art. It will take a long while. So we don't even have a cultural policy. Nigeria does not have a cultural policy. The first article I wrote as a journalist in 1987 was on cultural policy. We don't have it up to now. So what policy are we operating with any other institution? So you have to belong to these clusters. There are so many of these clusters around that you can just network with and say, even just for you to be collecting information and use information to yourself. Information is power. That's what I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Jahman. Thank you, Louise. Thank you, Jahman. Thank you, everyone. It's been a great evening, to be honest. It's been a great afternoon listening to the evening. Appreciate all we've learned from Jahman and from Louise. From presentations, Louise took us through some practical steps in building your network and some practical things to do at networking events, while Jahman, by going through his practice, was able to show us the impact of these networks, what being a member of Cora, being a member of Kona, and being a member of CAC has been able to help achieve, like watching the sale of the National Theatre in Nigeria. Some very interesting and important topics. Depending on which side of the aisle you're on, are you someone who is busy attending events and you don't know exactly how to key into it? Or are you thinking about how to best magnify your impact? There you have it, basically. And I must add also that I got to know Sazizo when she was in Lagos in 2019, late 2019 for the Lagos Biennale, and that's where we met. And from there, we've been part of the network of all the creators who came around for that event. And this is not the only of such I've been in. I've been in at least like 4 of such groups, and every single moment I appreciate being in such groups. So just I should add that because this is not just something that is being said, it's actually something you have to do in those steps. We'll try to get presentations and make them available on our website later on. We are currently developing a new website for the drill. Currently, what we have is more like a fixer upper, like for our events. But I want to thank everyone for coming out. Jan mentioned Uncle Jide. Well, I call him Uncle Jide. Uncle Jide was one of the speakers at last year's the drill event. I've known Uncle Jide for a while. Uncle Jide is an amazing person. He's our guy. He's all of us for that. Thank you, Uncle Jide. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I should add that for those who signify that they want to be part of the breakout sessions will be happening soon. Links for the breakout sessions were sent, and let's join from there. In the breakout sessions, we'll be divided into 2 groups. One group will be with Louise, one group will be with Jahman, and we'll be able to have heart-to-heart. This is also like a form of networking, so we could meet ourselves and see what comes up from there and discuss things that are disturbing us personally in that sense. And for those who will be joining the breakout session, thank you for being with us. It's been amazing. We have a quick survey that we would like you to. I just posted the link to the survey in the chat. We would love if you could help us fill out the survey. And as an incentive, we'll be giving out 2 prizes on random. So after you fill the survey, just make sure you fill before the 3rd of May. We're going to randomly select 2 persons from the survey to win 2 prizes or 2 books, one of which will be autographed by the author. So hope that's a good incentive for everyone to rush down to the survey and fill. For those who will be thinking about in the breakout session, please let's get ready. We'll be joining the breakout session immediately after this. And yeah, and by the way, for the winners of the books, you'll be notified on Tuesday. The Tuesday after the 3rd on which prize you won in that regard. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. This is the second drill event ever. We're going to be having another one, hopefully, very, very soon. We're already working on our next event. I don't want to let anything out of the bag, but we're working hard on our next event, which is going to be the second half of this year. And hopefully you can still stick with us. The goal, like I said in the beginning for the drill, is to create a vehicle that ensures that all the resources and all the knowledge necessary for arts practitioners to survive is made available. And these resources are not just about knowing who to network with, but also knowing things like how to take care of your health and what exactly to do when you're in legal quagmires and legal situations. So we intend to do programs that cover a wide range of fields. As I told one of the creators I look up to, the goal is to present the topics that are very important to artists and art practitioners, but are not art related, is to present it to the artists and the art practitioners. And that's what we're trying to do in this regard. So thank you for joining us. And see those who are going to be in the breakout session in the breakout rooms. And have a great day. Oh, before I go, I should mention, thanks a lot to the British Council for supporting this event and helping us get this. I would like to tell you the story of how that happened, but I'm not going to. But just know that it's also a result of networking that led to the funding for this event. So thank you to the British Council. Thank you to everyone who's been here. Thank you to everyone who is on YouTube, who's streamed or is streaming on YouTube. This event has been recorded. We're going to try and make sure that the recording is available as soon as possible. And please stick with us and have a great evening. Bye.